So, Act 5, Scene 6. So again, just grab your pens, please. We are outside the castle. So they've travelled with their branches. So they've got their branches in front of them. And Malcolm says, "Oh yes, what have I done? Oh, thank you. There you go. Thank you. Sorry. Right. So outside the castle, they've all got their branches, right? And Malcolm says,
"Now near enough, you'll leave this queen go down, and show like those you are. You are the uncle, shall with my cousin, the right noble son, lead our first battle. Worthy Macbeth, and we shall take upon what else remains to do, according to our order."
Good. So this is the strategy, right? So throw down your branches, right? We are near enough now that we can throw down the leafy screen. So the screen, of course, is the disguise, isn't it? So throw down your disguise. Right, who's going to lead the battle? Now we call this in war. We call this the vanguard, right? Now, if you're in those days, whoever led the battle was often the most honourable, but it was almost guaranteed that you would die, right? So there was an honour in being the first into battle. So who's going in first? Well, Uncle, who is Seaward, shall with my cousin, your noble son, who is young Seaward, lead the battle. Right? So Malcolm's like, right, time for war, and the people that will go into the battle will be the English guys. The English guys go first, and who's going to go later? Himself and Macduff, right? So he sends the English people in first to die, and then the Scots go in afterwards to like clean up what's left over. So worthy Macduff and we shall take upon what else remains to do, according to our order. So, although Malcolm is the rightful king, he's not necessarily the bravest, right? He's not like, I'm going to lead it. He's like, you go, and then we'll come later and just like, kill off what's left, right? Kill off the wounded. Okay, easy, right? Seaward.
Fare you well, do you but find the tyrant's power to let us be beaten if we cannot fight.
Yeah, good. Now notice there's a lot of this, right? There's a lot of this about fate. So a lot of these soldiers go and they go, I go and, fate will guide me. I live or I die, blah, blah, blah. Fare you well, but we define the tyrant's power. So again, this T word is used a lot for Macbeth, okay, about how other people see him. Now one of the essay plans we're going to write later is about how other people see Macbeth. Hero, king, tyrant. And the other one is about how Macbeth sees himself. Ambition, guilt, madness, nihilism. So a lot of this stuff is very useful for us, how other people see him. They use this word a lot, the tyrant. Duff. You ready? You got a starring part today.
Make all our trumpets speak with one breath. Those clamorous harmonies of blood and death.
Yeah, so the trumpets, right? Blow the trumpets, but the trumpets bring blood and death. So there's going to be extreme violence. Now, of course, if you've been paying attention, what you'll notice is this is what we call a cyclical structure. Okay, the play begins with war and it ends with war. So there's this idea that war just keeps coming around all the time, right? Someone's always trying. So there's someone always trying for power. Now in a system where only one person has power, like a king, everyone else has to either A, accept their lack of power, or try and become powerful. But it does have a cycle. It begins with Macbeth, or if you like, MacDonald and King Sweno trying to take power off Duncan, and Macbeth saves Scotland, and now Macbeth has become the traitor, and Macduff is going to try and save Scotland from Macbeth. So the thing is, the hero becomes the villain, it cycles round. Okay. Act 5, Scene 7. We are now inside the castle. Macbeth. Now he is properly mad at this point, right? They have tied me to a stake. Okay? I cannot fly. So he's the sense here of he's trapped. Now the stake they're referring to is about bear baiting. So what you do is you stick a big stick in the ground, then you get a bear, right? Like an angry bear. There you go. Right? And you tie the bear to the stake, like this, and then you just basically attack it with dogs. He says, I am like this bear, right? This big, powerful, noble creature, but I have been tied to a stake. I am trapped in my castle. But, bear-like, I must fight the course. So he says he's like a bear. Now when he says fight the course, there's an acceptance here that he will die, right? The bear never won the battle. So if you had a bear, and the bear was tied in the middle of the ring, like, you like to think of like the Elizabethans, Jacobites being quite dignified people, they like going to the theatre. Most of the time the theatres, like the Globe, there weren't plays on, there was blood sport. So the bear is in the middle of the ring, and everybody's sat around it, right, sat around it, and they just keep throwing dogs at it, right, attack dogs, attack dogs, attack dogs. And eventually the bear would die. So the bear might take down 100 dogs, but the bear would die. So he says, I am going to die, right, at some point, but I'm going to take down, I'm going to stick as long as I can, right, Royal Rumble, yeah, try and stick it out. What's he that was not born of woman? Such a one am I to fear, or none. So again, even though the Birnam Wood prophecy is proven untrue, he still is obsessed with the prophecies. He still can't quite detach it from his mind, right? He says, I will fear nobody but one not born of woman. Enter young Seaward. Thou be afraid to hear it. Yeah, good, right. My name is Macbeth. So he knows, like, in a way, he knows that he's got a little bit of sort of like infamy. So this guy comes in, he's like, what's your name? He's like, you be scared to hear it, boy. Though thou callest thyself a hotter name than any in hell, my name is Macbeth. So he equates Macbeth with the devil. He says there is no more evil name than Macbeth. He is like the devil. Seaward.
The devil himself could not announce the person who was taken.
Yeah, so you are worse than the devil, right? You are worse than the devil. No, nor more fearful. Abhorred. Abhorred is just like detested, like physically hated. Yes, Alfred. Yes, I can, sir. Yeah, so this is his challenge. They fight and young Seaward is slain. Macbeth just batters him basically, but partly because Macbeth is a really, really good soldier. Remember that, right? And this is he's like a little boy. He's probably about 13 years old. So he's like holding his sword up. Macbeth is just like, thou wast born of woman, but swords I smile at. Okay, weapons laugh to scorn, brandished by man that's of woman born. So this is like the 16th century version of like killing somebody in a computer game and then like dancing over their body, right? This is Macbeth's fortnight gloat, right? So he kills him, and then he just mocks him. He just goes, he's like, I laugh at you, right? I laugh at you, I smile at you, right? I'm not scared of anything. I'm not scared of swords, not scared of weapons. Anything that's held by one of woman born, I can't be killed by, right? But here's a gloat. He mocks him. He kills a little boy and he mocks him, right? But he won't be laughing for long. He won't be laughing for long. Macduff.
The way the noises, tyrant, show thy face. Thou wilt be slain, with no stroke of mine. My wife and children go to the holy still. I cannot strike a wretched foe, whose arms are high as the bear that steel. Either thou must birth, or else my sword will be unbattered earth. I see it again.
Good, right, hold there one sec. So, Macduff hears the noise. So the noise he hears is the fight. And he goes, where is the tyrant? Show thy face. He says, if thou be slain, so if somebody else kills you, if thou be slain with no stroke of mine, my wife and children's ghosts will haunt me. So he says he needs revenge, right? He needs it. If somebody else kills you, and it's not me, then I'll be haunted by my failures, my dishonour. So I have to avenge my family. He then says this, I cannot strike wretched kerns, whose arms are hired to bear their staves. So he says, I can't kill anybody who's fighting for Macbeth because they've been paid to do it. He says, either thou, Macbeth, or else my sword with an unbattered edge I sheathe again undeeded. So he says, I will only use my sword on Macbeth. Now, of course, this is his honour, isn't it? This is the difference of him and Macbeth. Right? I will put my sword back in its sheath, untouched, unless it's on Macbeth. I will not kill anybody else. Now, of course, that is honourable, right? He can kill Macbeth because Macbeth is vengeance. Macbeth has done him wrong, and he therefore can take honourable revenge. But to kill a child, like Macbeth just did with young Seward, is dishonourable. So Shakespeare tries to draw a very clear line here between Macbeth and Macduff. Right? Macduff is an honourable man. He's the hero. Macbeth is the villain. They have opposite ways of doing this. So it's only kill him. Okay, nobody else. Okay, so cannot kill innocent boys, really, basically. A kern is like a boy. Yes, Macduff.
And thou shouldst be by this great battle, one of the greatest men, St. Brutus, let me find him, fortune, and more than
Yeah, so again, even Macduff sees it as fate, right? Please let me find him. I ask for nothing more than just to get my revenge. Exit. Alarms. Woo, woo, woo. Enter Malcolm and Seward.
This way, my lord, the castle is generally rendered. Thy tyrant people on both sides do fight, the noble things do bravely in the war. The day almost itself professes yours, and little is to do.
Right, the battle is over, right? So this here, the castle is rendered. To be rendered means to be taken, right? He says here the day, so the battle professes yours, a little to do. So the battle is over, right? Everybody who was with Macbeth has surrendered. The only person left is Macbeth, right? He's completely isolated. Malcolm.
We have met with friends which help us silence.
Seward.
Enter, sir, the castle.
Good. So this, of course, remember, is about returning. The last time he was in the castle was when his father was murdered. So it's returning to power. Okay. So the foes, we have met with foes that strike beside us. So they are all unified. So they're unified against Macbeth. Okay. So just be clear about this. The battle is over, right? It's done. Everyone's surrendered. The only person left now is Macbeth. He is completely isolated. Okay. Right. Final scene. Act 5, Scene 8. So at this point, he's isolated. Okay, he's on his own. Why should I play the Roman fool and die upon my own sword? While I see lives, the gashes do better upon them. This is great. Really good about his mindset, right? So he says, now, why should I play the Roman fool, okay, and die on my own sword? So the tradition was that if you were a Roman general, okay, I'm going to put this down here, right? So if you were a Roman general and you lost the battle, that you would literally fall on your sword. That you would put your sword in the ground and you would fall on it and kill yourself. That was what they used to do, right? Now there's still some cultures that have that kind of attitude, like for example, if you know about Japanese culture, they have a thing called the seppuku, which is where if you are the leader of something and you fail, the dishonour of failure is relieved by actually killing yourself. The samurais used to do it. But it's a very old idea. So the honour, so I'm going to put here, kill self if lose a battle. And if you ever heard the phrase to fall on your own sword, that's where it comes from. It means that you take responsibility, right? I lost the battle, I have been dishonoured, I'm going to kill myself. But notice Macbeth says, why should I do that? Right? Why? So what we have here is his dishonour. Right? Why should I give up? He then said, while I see lives, so that's people, the gashes do better upon them. Now this of course is about as low as he falls. So he goes, I've lost the battle, but rather than fall on my sword, I'm going to kill as many people as I can. Right? I'm going to kill as many people as I possibly can. The gashes, right, the sword blows, are better on them than on me. So he's going to take, it's almost like a sort of like a kamikaze run, right? He is going to essentially take out as many as possible. Enter Macduff. Ooh. Good. Hellhound, right? Another nice description of him. Of all men else I have avoided thee. But get thee back. My soul is too much charged with blood of thine already. So interestingly here, he does feel some guilt, right? He says, of all the people that I would hope to avoid, you are number one, right? My soul, so the part of him that goes to heaven or hell, is too already damaged by the murder of the family. So the blood of thine, of course, is not Macduff's blood, but his family, killing his wife and children.
I have no words. My voice is in my soul. My blood will be
Good. So bloody a villain. So Macduff says, I'm not here to talk. I'm not here to talk. I'm here to fight. Right? So again, the honour is in the action. Right? I'm not here to talk. I don't have any words. No words. My voice is in my sword. They fight. Now what happens here is they fight, they kind of fight and chat. So it's like ching 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 ching, even, ching ching, both good soldiers, ching, even, ching ching ching, fighting. They're fighting, right? So we're fighting. Thou losest labour. So it's to lose labour is a waste of time, right? So there's no point in fighting me. As easy mayst thou the entrenchant air with thy keen sword impress as make me bleed. Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. I bear a charmed life. Hooray! I bear a charmed life, which must not yield to one of woman born. So he says it's pointless, right? Ching, ching, ching. Right? You can't beat me. This is one of my favourite. I know I said so. It's one of my favourite lines, right? He says, "As easy mayst thou the entrenchant air with thy keen sword impress as make me bleed." Entrenchant is literally means uncuttable. So he says, you have more chance of cutting the air than making me bleed. Right? I am like air. I am untouchable. Right? You can swing your sword through the air, but you can never cut air. The entrenchant air, the uncuttable air, with thy sword impress than make me bleed. So you've got more chance of actually damaging the air. So again, the sense here is just being invulnerable. Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. I bear a charmed life. So he says, I'm almost like he's protected by magic. So even though he knows, this is what I find so interesting, even though he knows that the witches have lied to him, he still can't quite shake it from his mind. Yeah. Well, they haven't lied to him, is what I mean. But he thinks the witches are looking out for him, or actually they've tricked him, is what I mean. So he still doesn't realise that they've lied to him. Or not lied to him, but they have twisted his mind. I bear a charmed life. I am a magical life, which must not yield. So yield means to give up. to one of woman born. Here's the big twist. You ready? You got to say this with passion.
Spare thy child, and let the angel whom thou still hast a son. Tell thee, the darkness from
Untimely ripped. Right? So he says, despair thy charm. So it's like to break the magic. And let the angel whom thou still hast served tell thee, Macbeth was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. Now, untimely ripped means that he was taken out of his mother's womb before he was born. Okay? So if you follow through the time, he'd be born. Okay? Now, let's be very clear about this, okay? Because this is where people get confused. So, this is what we call, please write this down, this is called caesarean section. Okay, because the first person recorded to have been born by caesarean section, possibly Caesar, yeah, but also Caesare means to cut in Italian and Latin. So what it means is when, and this happens very, very commonly these days. So if it is going to be very hard for a woman to give birth, like sometimes, for example, the baby is the wrong way round, or there's a problem with the pregnancy. What they'll do is they will do a surgery. They'll cut open the womb and take the baby out. Okay? Was anyone born that way? I was born that way. I was upside down. I was in breech, so I was removed that way. Here's the difference. In this time, to do a caesarean section on a woman would almost certainly kill the mother. So what they do is this: they would go, right, if the woman goes through with this birth, it will kill both her and the child, because they didn't have medicine or hospitals, right? So we have to kill the mother to save the child. Okay, so please write this down. Be very clear, right? So in Jacobean times, okay, so the time of James, we were to kill the mother. So therefore, when Macduff is born, he is born out of a dead corpse. She is no longer a woman, she is a dead person. Do you see the twist here? None born of woman. None of woman born. None of woman born. So at the point in time when he is taken out of his mother, she's probably not alive, because the size of the wound would be a killing blow. So it's a technicality, right? But Macduff is not technically born of a woman, right? He's born of a dead body. So he says the words untimely ripped. Now the word ripped kind of shows the violence of that process, right? None of you were untimely ripped from your mother's wombs. You might have been born by caesarean section like me, but it wasn't an untimely rip. It was a planned surgery. How things change, eh? But this, of course, defies the prophecy. And look at his reaction to this. Accursed be the tongue that tells me so, for it hath cowed my better part of man. So to cow is to make fearful. So he's scared. Yeah? Cursed be the tongue that tells me so. A curse on you, for you have made me feel weak. And be these juggling fiends no more believed, that palter with us in double sense, that keep the word of promise to our ear, and break it to our hope. I will not fight with thee. So this bit here is he criticises the witches. Okay? He says that they have tricked me. Right? They've tricked me. Right? Damn those juggling fiends who have treated my life like a puppet. Who do this double meaning. Who tell us one thing and then break it in another way. Damn them. Right? But notice this, right? I will not fight with thee. Now what's weird is, he wasn't losing the fight. He probably could have won the fight, but he doesn't believe he can anymore. right? So he loses belief. I will not fight with thee. I will not fight with thee. Duff. I will not fight with thee.
I will not yield. Then yield compel me, and live to be the show and gaze of the time. You'll have to be as our royal master and fainting in the fall, and the fall, when you see the time.
Yeah, so he says surrender. But notice what will happen to him. He says here, live to be the show and gaze of the time. So he says, surrender, and we'll put you in a cage, right? We'll put you on display. And have thee, as our rarer monsters are, painted on a pole, and under it, here may you see the tyrant. So he'll become almost like a sort of like a warning or like an attraction. Now back in these days, what they used to do, because they had very little knowledge of the world, in the 1600s, they started to like sail around the world. That's when they went to America, went to Bermuda, went to Africa. And what they would do is they would find people that were different from them, and they would bring them back, and they would go, look at the Indian. They put them in a cage, and they'd write an Indian from Bermuda, because they didn't know what they were doing, right? So he says, you can be like those people, right? Like people of different races and foreign people. And we'll put you in a cage, and it will say underneath, come and look at the tyrant, right? So like you're like a thing, like a monster. Now Macbeth obviously doesn't really want that to happen, so he says, I will not yield to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet. So I will not do that, right? I will not surrender. I would rather die than kiss the ground of Malcolm's feet and be baited with the rabble's curse. Though Burnham wood be come to Dunsinane, right, and thou oppose being of no woman born, yet I will try the last. Before my body I throw my warlike shield. Lay on, Macduff, and damned be him that first cries, hold enough. So, to surrender. So, I like this bit because, in a way, like, although he is the villain, there is a sense at the end of the play which is like, he actually regains his honour. Okay? Because he says that even though fate is against me, right? Even though a wood comes to Dunsinane and you are not woman born, even though fate says that I cannot win, I'm going to fight. Right? And of course that is honourable, isn't it? He doesn't surrender. So in a way, even at his last moment, he gets back the honour he begins the play with. Right? But notice, he shakes off the witches and then he can have honour again. So he's going to fight against his fate. And although he's still bad, he's still a monster, he does go out with honour. Right? He does go out with honour. He doesn't surrender, he doesn't give up, and he says, I'm going to fight you, and whoever gives up first is the loser. They leave fighting. Ching, 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 ching. Malcolm. Ching, ching. Yeah, this is a good line here, right? So it says, so great a day was cheaply bought. So great a day, of course, is the victory. The victory. But cheaply bought means that it was easy. Like, wow, that was really easy. Right? Last bit. Malcolm. Yeah, so Ross tells Seward that his son is dead. Okay, your son, my lord, has paid a soldier's debt. Now, the soldier's debt is to die. So when you're a soldier, the idea is that at some point you probably will die. So you're in debt and you pay it through death. So he says that young Seward is dead. But he says this, right? He says he died with honour. He says he only lived but till he was a man, which means that he's probably about 13 years old, because back in those days 13 was like when you became a man, when you went off to work, etc. he says that in the unshrinking station where he fought, he died like a man. So he was brave, he didn't shrink away, he kept himself big, he died like a man. Seaward?
Then he is dead. 5. And all of the field. To kill his sorrow not measured by his word, but then it hath not.
Yeah, so again he says here that he was brave. This next bit's quite interesting. Seaward?
Had he his hurts before?
Right, so when he says this, now hurts, circle that please, this is his wounds, and before, he means on his front. Why do you think that Seaward cares about this? I'll let you discuss this, have a little bit of a break from me talking, but Seaward says, my son is dead. Were the wounds on the front of his body? Why does Seaward want to know that? Why does he care? Were they on the front of his body or the back of his body? Where were they? Front or back? Right? Why does he care? Right. Any theories on this? Yes, Edward. Good, right? Because if they're on his back, it means that he was running away, and it was like, hey, right? On the front means, again, the front is about honour. So he didn't turn his back. Okay, he fought face to face and he died face to face. So in a way, that's what Seaward cares about. Like, did my son die an honourable death? Right? Has he shamed my family, or is he a hero? Seaward.
Why then, God's soldier be he, had I as many sons as I have heard, I would not wish them to have a better death, and so his nail is nailed.
Yeah, so he says, so in a way, like even though his son has died, he kind of accepts it with honour. And he says, okay, well, in which case he's gone to heaven, right? So because he was honourable, he died for a good cause. Like, if I had as many sons as I have hairs on my head, so if I had thousands of children, I could not think of a better way for them to die.
He's worth no more, they say, he parted well and paid his score, and so God be with him, he comes in your comfort.
Yeah, so Malcolm here shows empathy again. So Malcolm is trying to be like the good king. So he says, I will be sad for you. And Seaward says, don't bother. Don't bother, right? He's not worth any more time. They say he parted well and paid his score, and so God be with him. I don't know what kind of dad Seaward is, but the king's like, we will honour him. And he's like, no, don't bother. It's all right. He did his bit. He's dead. He's with God now. No problem. Enter Macduff with Macbeth's head. Now, of course, Macbeth's head has been detached from his body. Okay, we don't actually see Macbeth die, but he just comes in with the head. Okay. Now, of course, remember, this was the traitor. But remember, right at the beginning of the play, this is what Macbeth does. Macbeth comes in with the head of the traitor. If you go all the way back, boom, right? So we go all the way back to the soldier. Here, page 4, he says, and seen them from native the chops and fixed his head up on the battlements. Yes.
How would they avoid being actual threat? How would they want someone?
Good question. At the time, they probably just had a bunch of spare heads knocking around. They would have just gone, oh, can anyone grab me a head for the play? And they go, I'll get one off the spike out there. I don't know. Sometimes what they do is they would like put it in a bag and like have like blood dripping out of it. But the point is, of course, this is what I want to be really clear about. It's cyclical. The play begins with Macbeth bringing the head of MacDonald. Okay, so I'll write this really clearly. So Macbeth brings MacDonald's head. Now, we'll come on to the reason why he does this in a second, but I think it's actually really important. So Macduff comes in with Macbeth's head. Okay, Macduff, just be loud here, please.
Hail King, the son of behold, where stands the son's cursed head. The time is free, see me come past you, my kings of power, that speak my salvation in my mind. Whose voices desire aloud in mind. Hail, King of Scotland.
3, 2, 1. Hail, King of Scotland! Now let's pretend that actually you're happy that he's the King of Scotland, right? 3, 2, 1.
Hail, King of Scotland.
Okay, but again, let's pretend. Let's say it as loud as we can. Ready? You only get one chance to do this. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hail, King of Scotland.
Hail, King of Scotland! Ah! Right? So this is big, right? This is a big hooray, right? Hooray! Everyone's very happy. But notice this, right? So there's a little bit of a sort of a witchy vibe to it as well. All hail Macbeth, who shall be king hereafter. All hail Macbeth, who shall be Thane of Cawdor. So there's a lot of repetition with this, right? Now, Macduff comes in and he says, Hail King, for so thou art. So the big thing here is that when Macduff kills Macbeth, Macduff does not seek the throne for himself, but he gives the throne to Malcolm. So he restores to Malcolm. Now, we don't know if Macduff has any designs on the throne, but remember, when Macbeth kills MacDonald, Macbeth doesn't think, oh, I can be king. He just goes, oh, here we go. You're now safely the king again. Right? I've removed the challenges. The time is free. So remember, time is nature, right? So the world is free. We can live again. I see thee compassed with thy kingdom's pearl, that speak my salutations in their minds, whose voices are loud with mine. So it's about the celebration of the restoration. So it's about restoring the natural order. Now, we'll come to this down here in a second, right? Okay. So, Malcolm. Final speech, you ready? Okay.
We shall not spend a long expense of time to fully reckon with what's under us. I make a statement. My dames and kinsmen, henceforth the arms, at last that I was gotten in such an honour made. Much more to do, much would be planned to deal with the time, as cleaning home our exiled friends abroad, at fled the snares of watchful tyranny, producing forth as few ministers, of this dead butcher and his fine-like queen, who is his thought by self and violent hands. Take off my life, this, and what needful else, that calls upon us by the grace of grace. We will perform a measure, time and place, so thanks all at once, and each one, whom we invite to see us crowned at stone.
Good, well done. Right, let's just read this again very quickly. So, Malcolm gives this speech to the people, and he says a few things. The first thing he says, we're not going to spend lots of time before we sort this situation out. But he does say, the Thanes and Kingsmen will become Earls. Remember, Earls is English, Thanes is Scottish. So what we have here is almost like the unifying of England and Scotland. Now, who did that? Who did that in real life? James I, right? So James I was the first king of Scotland and England. So this is just like James I. So when people are seeing the play and they're like, oh, I don't like that James I, and they're like, oh, this Malcolm, he wants to unify England and Scotland. Oh, that's like James I. Maybe actually James I is a good guy, right? It's political propaganda. Okay. He says, what's more to do, which will be planted nearly with the time. So again, more about planting of nature. Bring back our exile friends that fled the snatch of watchful tyranny. So it's about restoring order. He then says this. This is the key bit of this speech. He says, he describes Macbeth as a dead butcher. Now, the dead butcher is Macbeth. Now, of course, remember, this is how history will remember him, right? For all of history, Macbeth is nothing more than a butcher, right? What's a butcher? A butcher. Somebody who kills animals, right? And his fiend-like queen. Now, a fiend is a demon. who 'tis thought by self and violent hands took her off her life. So they go, wow, so she was a demon who killed herself. Now remember, of course, suicide in those days was a sin. This and what needful else that calls upon us by the grace of grace. So the grace of grace is God. We will perform in measure, time and place. So thanks to one and all, to each and one whom we see to invite us crowned at Scone. So this is about becoming the new king. And the ultimate message of the play is, it's about restoring the natural order, right? The great chain of being. Or is it? Because there's one problem here. There's one problem here that we haven't discussed. Very good. Well done. Very good. Right? But it leaves us with this question, right? Of Banquo's children. Because if Banquo's children will become kings, then at some point Malcolm is going to be killed. Right? So how do Banquo's children become kings? So there is this idea about I'm going to write this as a question, will it all happen again? Right? Will Macduff become Macbeth? Because at the beginning of the play, Macbeth is a hero, right? And Macbeth becomes a villain. So will it all happen again? Will Macduff leave this, meet the witches, and they'll go, Macduff who shall be king? And he's like, whoa! And then he kills Malcolm, right? Where's Banquo's children? When are they going to come back into it? So the idea is that the natural order, this is the last point for me, okay, on this. The natural order is always under threat, right? And that we have to work really, really hard to try and keep everything safe.